Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Secret Origins of Mint Condition. I am one of your hosts, James, and joining me is Joe.
Hey folks, how you doing?
Joining me also is Chris. And we're very excited today because we have had many artists and writers on this podcast. But today we get to celebrate and talk to one of our own who just became a writer and an artist, publishing his first book. You know him, you love him. We're happy to welcome back Richie Garofalo.
Yay.
So Richie, thank you for coming back. We're very excited for you. I know you were working on. I know, like you've shared on previous podcasts and also in offline talks, how like your dream when you had time was to do your art and then do a book or put something together. So I'm very excited that you've gotten to this point, and our audience is his book. I'll put it up there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
the
so
hardcover version.
always got the
Wait,
hardcover there.
can
Yep.
I can I get the hardcover on Amazon? Is that
Sure you
available?
can. That's
Yeah, start plugging right away, Richie.
Of course you can. You
Okay,
Yeah.
get
I
all the
think I'll get
versions.
that.
Yep. All you really have to do is go on
Um,
Amazon Books and start putting in the Mighty Little Lumberjack, and you'll see it pop up.
there's so many things I want to talk to you about. We want to talk to you about. We're just so happy we get to talk to you about it. That you get to finally have this part of your dream come true and get it out into the world. But tell us, like, what brought you? What's the inspiration behind the book and how we got to this point?
Okay. There's a combination of things going on here. I'd say the inspiration actually came from a 2023 trip we had made to Yellowstone Park. We had gone on three different tour buses, and all of them had passed or stopped in at the burnt out forest. And they were telling us that how the nature takes care of these things. Now, I took it a little further with Mack, the Mighty Little Lumberjack. Nature has a plan. When there's a fire, it actually manages to save pine cones or different seeds from a tree. And actually, I don't know. I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not being technical by any stretch, but some of the pods are like almost fireproof. And they, when the fire's over and rain and Mother Nature takes over, these pods release the seeds, and things begin to grow. That's number one that inspired. Number two was I've always wanted to do a comic book, and I had actually done sketched up a story and artwork for a comic book character called Lumberjack, the superhero. I've always liked lumberjacks, just in general, like big burly guys. Back in the day, Joe, you might remember.
Here come the
The,
brides, weren't they lumberjacks?
yes, here
Were
come
they
the
lumberjacks?
brides. Yes, they were
With Mark
lumberjacks.
Leonard, yeah.
Anyway, so when the time came to, inspired by one thing, I had a daughter, I had some time, I'm retired. So all these things culminated to doing a children's book. And I always liked the rhyme and rhythm of Dr. Seuss books. So that's the other thing that we'll say inspired me of which direction I would take. So my book does have some rhyme and rhythm to it, and it was a work in progress. James saw the original while it was still on my computer. Joe, you saw the first author's proof. Actually, Chris also I sent him a copy of the original author's proof because I wanted to get some feedback. And it's changed since then. I'd say that that got out to that first author's proof was probably like the first week of December. And then, geez, right up until it was about to be published, it was being tweaked and retweaked right up until probably March 21st, I think was the last tweak. I plotted it into Amazon. They want like a week to, they have proofreaders and whatnot. And the first time I had done that, it kind of, even though they printed it for me and I was happy with the print, they rejected it because the text was too close to the borders. And I'm glad they did. It was that last tweaking that I did that I think really pulled it all together. So I'm thrilled with the results, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. So very happy there. I don't know. It's to start with. In a week, little over a week, I've sold 93 copies, and
Wow, very
I've
nice.
Wow, that's
Nice.
amazing, Richie.
thank you. And I've gotten 18 5-star reviews.
Ooh,
So, and very, very happy with the way that's gone.
just a basic question. Um, why a beaver? Yeah, it just popped into my head about an hour ago. I was like, I mean,
Well,
you have all these different animals to choose from. I think I know why, but go ahead.
I'll,
I mean,
I'll reinforce it. The closest thing to a lumberjack to me in the
yeah.
forest is a beaver.
When you said
And
lumberjack a couple of minutes ago, that's what I thought. Okay.
yeah, there you go, the beaver. And then, on top of everything else, a beaver is one of the animal species that can actually change an environment, believe it or not. I
Okay,
mean,
it doesn't. Yeah. No, I can see why you did that. That makes a lot of sense. It really does because it fits with the whole lumberjack and yeah, I mean, we always know about the industrious beaver, but I didn't. I never thought of it the way you just explained it. How the species has the ability to change an environment. That's pretty cool.
and then back to the actual production of the book or whatever. I'm a self publisher. By right now, it's through Amazon. I don't have any like exclusive with them until I find another printer or a publisher or something. Um, it's really all self promotion. So that's why some of you might have seen, but Joe's not on Facebook, but Facebook has been where I've been promoting the book, and it's through that promotion for the most part that I've got the 93 books sold and the 18 reviewed. I'm really pretty happy, and I actually had sent out a Monday, April 7th, or yeah, Monday, April 7th was National Beaver Day.
Wow, timing.
Yeah, perfect timing. So I had put out, I um, searched beaver in Facebook, and almost there was probably about 50 different sites that were promoting National Beaver Day. Nothing had a lot of hits or anything, but about 30 of them I plugged in my my story about the beaver, and I got a sale.
Oh,
Great.
good.
I see it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and very nice woman. She actually has been watching a beaver um, habitat in close by to her home, upstate New York. So
Oh,
she was very excited, and she also wants to write a book. So I said I made some recommendations and offered my help if I could. You got to share the
mhm.
wisdom that you get. I mean, and I tell you, it's a lot of work. Adrian kept telling me if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So,
Right, right.
um, a lot of technical problems. Once I came back out here mid January, it was a lot of tweaking the artwork a little bit, changing things, but I managed with the large help from Adrian and Adrian's support group out here. She's got she's part of a writers group, and I got a lot of recommendations from them as well. So all in all, it was a culmination to the point that I got.
So this was created on the computer then. No
I
Bristol board involved, right?
I hand drew everything, scanned it into the computer, colorized it through. I used Photoshop because that's what I've got. And
No, I think you did a great job because, like, you used basic tools, but you created a lot of depth and you created very cool layouts. And
Did, Rich, did you do any thumbnails for the before you started putting it together? Did you do any type of like what do they do in animation? Do like they do a
yeah,
storyboard, right?
they do a storyboard, and honestly, I didn't do the storyboard. I don't know whether I don't have the patience to do it. I think I just started, but then I just started drawing the character, and taking it and twisting it and turning it and different positions. And then I started making the forest, the old gray forest, the burnt forest, and I just started plotting things in. Um, I did write the story first.
Okay, that
Um,
was my next question. Okay.
yeah, I wrote it first, which was key. I think it needed to be written first before drawn, and then I drew pictures based on that. And then I showed Irene. She had made some suggestions right off the bat because I was semi incorporating humans, and she thought, no, just keep them out, just keep it with the animals and that kind of thing. And I'm glad I did. I mean, only reason why I remember this, and this is so long ago, because this was in October that I started. Um, I was going through some of the files when I went back home, and there was this one picture where you're looking out of the windshield of a car. Okay, and I don't remember the words that I had used at the time, but it was something like it had something to rhymey thing to look out the windshield and see a field. I don't know. I'm just throwing out. I can't even remember what it was. And she said, "No, no, don't incorporate. Just move on to the next thing. It doesn't. You don't have to bring in the humans." And it worked out smoother and better. So there's been a tremendous change here and there.
Yeah, but you did this really quickly. From like I came to visit you in Thanksgiving time, and you in like a 2 month time period, you like put together what I saw. That's very impressive.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Right. I had finished it. What you had seen was just about done. Um, I think it was done because you got to see the whole story.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I just got my copy today, so I haven't reread it to like see if there's how many if you change like the specifics. But I read a whole book on the computer when I
Right,
went
you
came to
did.
visit you. So
You did, and I think right after Thanksgiving, I had sent for the author's copy, and the author's copy came in 2 days.
wow.
Okay, yeah. So they don't have they don't print up a bunch of books. They just print them up to order
It's print on
and
demand.
print on demand. Yes, the hardcover takes like 3 days. The soft cover, the paperback, 2 days.
If that, I ordered mine Monday
That is quick, man.
and
Wow.
I got it this afternoon. So
Wow, yeah, it's amazing. It's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. For
Uh,
audience reference, recording this on a Wednesday, so like it got to me on Monday.
Today,
So yeah.
that's
Chris,
right.
I know Richie said he sent you a rough copy for you to look at. What were your thoughts when you saw the copy?
Yeah, so I mean, what you said about the words being close to the border, that made sense to me, but also it didn't bother me. Like I could see it, right? When it was mentioned, I could see it. But but I liked the restoration of color to the world. That's something that's sort of always fascinated me as a visual. It's something that I really, we talked about it when we did our episode on Across the Spider Verse, and we talk about how, when Gwen is back in her own dimension, and like she and her father make amends, and suddenly color comes flooding back into her world. There's just something really lovely about it. And that was something that I really liked about the forest, the gray after the fire, and how much beauty could come from that kind of destruction. And I think it's a good thing on a couple of levels. One of the things I really like about children's books in general, and Richie, I think you hit the mark on this too. But one of the things I really like about children's books is that there is something to be learned for adults as well as for children. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes we as adults, we can really use the reminder that, like, regardless of how gray the world gets, we can find ways. It takes work, but we can find ways to bring it back to Technicolor. And that was something that I think also kids can stand to learn. I think adults need to be reminded. But I think also for kids, there's a really cool. You're talking about the forest being transformed, and one of the best ways to do that is through color. So that really, really jumped out at me. Besides the rhyme, obviously making it easy to read, it really flows. But that for me, that transformation from gray to like explosions of color was really lovely and really wonderful. So those are some of the things that really stood out to me. And also, I think it gave you. This is just me. I'm always sort of thinking this way, and I really have to blame all three of you because of all the comic books that we've read together. But like, you worked so much into one story without it feeling crowded that you've given, in my
Good
opinion,
point,
you've given
Chris.
yourself the starting of the beginnings of a world that you can keep writing in. You don't have to, and that's cool. I don't feel like, okay, I'm going to have to invest in the rest of a series. But also, if more books came out and it's like, oh, these are extensions of that world, that's something that makes sense to me, and that's something that I'm interested in. So, I thought you did a really, really nice job of this is a really good starting point, and if you want to step away from this world, you can. It's not like anything is left unanswered or unspoken to. But if you wanted to continue doing work in this world, it totally makes sense. It's a natural extension of what you started here. So those were some of my thoughts.
Yeah, you read my mind, Chris. I was going to ask if there's any sequels forthcoming.
Well, people have commented that I definitely should do like a series sort of based on this. And yes, I've thought about a prequel actually. How did Mack
Oh,
get his name?
oh, okay, cool.
So that's something that I might put in, and I'm debating right now whether I introduce humans into that or leave it animals. I'm leaning towards leaving it animal. Chris, you mentioned adults could read into this a little bit, and that thought went through my head. Is I was definitely writing this to adults as well as kids. Invest time and energy into a community, and the payback can be very rewarding. And that's something that I've tried to live by. So I wanted to reflect that in the story as well.
Yeah, no, I thought you did a good job. I'm actually really curious because I do see how you go a couple of different directions here, and you could write additional stories here or not, and it's totally up to you, like what you want to do. Versus, certainly you don't want to be known as the George R. R. Martin of of children's books. I don't think you're at risk of that, but
Chris
I
stole
don't.
my microphone there, Chris.
Sorry, Joe. I wouldn't want to see you getting stuck going like, I guess I'll write the series because this is what people want me to write, right? But I am curious, like Richie, like over the years, I know you have a million stories in that brilliant brain of yours. Like I know you do because of all the artwork that you've done and all the artwork you've created, and because you have this rich history of not just consuming stories but also telling them. What was it that now that like these doors of authorship are open for you, and it's like this whole big world, like what was it that made you choose this story as opposed to say like a million of the others that I know you've got in your head? Like what made you flesh this one out specifically before any others that are obviously now on the table?
It's hard to say. It's really a culmination of reasons. It was granddaughter being born,
Hmm.
the retirement, and then always. I mean, I probably started uh, the Might Lumberjack, the superhero comic, 3 times, and I just didn't think that comic books were the direction I'd be going in anymore. So I decided that with Lucy, I would like to have a book that she'd be able to enjoy, and one that enjoyed to read to her. Let's see, she's been listening to me read this book now in all its culminations since she was 6 months old. And to be honest with you, it's one of the few books that she sits still for me to read.
Wow, that's
So,
wonderful.
That was one of my questions. How many times have you read it to Lucy? Yeah. You just answered that one.
yes, yeah, too many to count. Because I read to her every day. It's, one of the things that we do together.
I'm curious, how many designs did you go through for Mac before you landed on the final design? That's always designing the character. I'm always fascinated by.
All the animals and everything in there, and this is not something I normally done in the past. I usually work off of a artist's representation, and I always find that when you work off another artist, you're tweaking something that's already been twisted a little bit. So your twist on their twist could be bad. So I went straight to photographs and animals and to make drawings that I made. Actually, I pretty much stuck to everything. Mac was the only one that culminated. If you see, he's kind of got a furry beard, where the other beavers in the book don't have that. and I gave him a hat. My sketches, for the most part, I nailed it from the get go. And I think I tweaked the wolf, but I ended up using the wolf drawing that I had done first. I ended up using it later on in the story. I got lucky.
Well, I am curious, like also with the like drawing, some animals you kept more, I guess, animal like, and some animals you made a little bit more cartoon or give them a
Yeah.
little bit. So, what was the choice? It just
Mm,
aesthetically when you look at the page, or it was a character?
It was the character being able to show expression to a certain point. The ones that I think that you're talking about that are a little more animated, they're more in the heart of the story. They needed to have a little bit more animation. And you know what? That was something that I culminated over time. That those did change. Yeah, when I think about it, like the eyes, originally when I did the eyes, Beaver's eyes are like brown with, they have no white. And then I was trying to, and then they're on the side of the head, and they're shaped a certain way, and I tried to maintain that.
I'm always curious, like when you get to a final product. I am influenced by Disney. I'm sure you're influenced by Disney, and there's certain like there's just like their animals. There's like that sweet spot between like you're trying to keep the animal realistic, but you're also trying to tell a story that kids will like. And a cute beaver in real life looks cute, but when you try to translate that to the page, it doesn't always convey the cuteness that the real animal is. So you got to like figure out a middle ground.
I'm searching for a word. Is it Help me out here.
Anthropomorphize.
Thank you, James.
Say that again. I didn't get it.
Anthropomorphic.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, assigning human characteristics to animals.
I have a question, Rich. Now, you and I have been reading comic books since,
Yeah.
more than half a century. Did you ever read any funny animal comic books when you were a kid, when you were a boy?
Sure. Yeah. Warner Brother cartoons, even Disney's, Donald Duck, I think, was probably
Yeah, I read Donald
one of
Duck.
the ones that I probably read the most, followed by Bugs Bunny comics. And yeah, I did my fair share of cartoon comic reading.
Yeah, I think funny animal is a very important uh, genre in sequential storytelling. I think we need to get back to that more because it brings children in and adults, obviously, if it's done properly. And I just think it's colorful. It speaks to people, and I just think it's important to just can't all be superheroes and
Yeah, absolutely.
and that stuff. It's got to be more.
I got a gift. A friend of ours had mailed a gift for the baby, and in it I got like this big um, hardcover Disney comic book. And so through the decades, they had
I think I know that book. I've been looking at it on Amazon, whether I should buy it or not.
the book is amazing, and I want to read it, but it's not quite ready for Lucy. And
Hmm.
I haven't. I started reading one of the stories, and I'm like, I'm into it. You know what I mean? I can't wait to continue. This one was with the Seven Dwarfs, but I started it and I was engrossed in it. But then she woke up and things changed.
Uh,
Hoopla actually has some old Disney comics, and they actually started like making new Disney comics. Like they started doing Darkwing Duck and Ducktales again and stuff like that. So I've been because I love those shows and I loved those characters. So yeah, those comic books are great.
Those comic books are great. I actually, a friend of mine, he died a couple of years ago, but he used to draw Darkwing Duck, and he talked about how he would see how much he could get past the surface, and it was much easier in other places, right? But that was always something fun for him. I wanted to go back quickly to what you were saying, Joe, about animals versus superheroes in what kids consume. And like, I really like superheroes. I think there's a lot to take away from them. But one of the things I really like about comic books and stories in general is I like when they make people curious, right? I like when they
hmm.
make people curious about a thing. And I think superheroes can do that, but they're also not real, right? So like it depends on the story as to whether or not they make kids curious about something, or if kids are just like, "Ooh, I like the action and I want to reenact." And I'm thinking of this now because Eli is currently downstairs dueling Christina to Duel of the Fates. Which is like duel, which like admittedly great duel, right? But like it hasn't gotten him interested in fencing or anything like that. He just wants to reenact the duel. That's cool. I'm not saying there's not value there. What I'm saying is I like that using animals the way that you did, Richie, and putting science behind it and giving them some story and giving everybody some story to read, things to learn. It using things that exist in the real world do make
Mm.
things do make people curious, right? And make kids curious to like learn more about it. And that's something that I think is really, really important about children's books is like, is this going to make kiddos curious about a thing? And then go out and learn more about it, because that's one of the most valuable things we can really teach our kids is how to be curious, and then how to go answer the questions that you have, and then come up with new questions, right? So
Mm.
that's one of the reasons I really like animals, excuse me, in stories the way that Richie used it here. I really, really like that because it I don't know, it evokes curiosity, and I think that fostering that is so hugely important for us as parents, and I think minds us as parents, like, you know, when kids ask us questions, don't say because, don't just say I told you so, like, right, like
Yeah.
foster that curiosity. And so I like, you know, I think there superheroes can do that. There was the, what is it, the statistic that like, you know, how many oh gosh, it's gonna drive me, I don't know, and we've talked about this before, but like how comic books um, use more like SAT words than regular novels, right? Like if you read through comic books, you can find more SAT, and I think that's really cool.
Mm. Definitely does. Chris, you just made me think of something I hadn't thought of in a long time, but I think it was my very first Superman comic book. I guess I was 10 years old, and I came across this word. Can still have trouble saying it today. Invulnerable. I had no idea
Yes.
what the hell it meant.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
what did
yeah.
I do?
See,
I went to we had a dictionary, had a big Webster's dictionary, a big hardcover. It was at the bottom of the phone table. Remember, Rich, we had a table had a phone on it, and there
Yeah.
was below that was a phone directory, and then below ours was the dictionary. And I looked up invulnerable. Oh, it means unable to be harmed. That makes sense. Bullets bounce off of Superman, and I learned a new word that day
and not only did you learn a new word, but you took the initiative to go, I
to
want to
find
know
out.
what this
Right.
means and to find the
Hmm.
information. And then that also meant like, oh well, next time it comes up, I can do it again, right? So like again, that critical thinking skill, that curiosity, that I have questions. How do I, you know, something that you learn from that? I love it.
Teach all our children, right?
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Curiosity. There was a curiosity killed the cat. No. Curiosity makes the world go round, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. I had another question. What did I have here? Oh, I know. I know the coloring process, which you said you used Photoshop. You got to. I mean, I'm an idiot. I don't even know what the hell Photoshop is. So, if you could explain how you colored this book, I would love to hear it.
Well, with Photoshop, I drew everything black and white,
Uh huh.
scanned it. They have what you call a paint bucket. So you just
Oh,
take the
okay.
paint bucket, you choose the color you like, and you just drop it in. And as long as those black outlines are solid, and they weren't always,
Uh huh.
so you have to go back and you have to fix that. Versus the markers, which is the way I used to do everything. It's a cleaner finish. So it's really they have this paint bucket, and you just point the paint bucket over the open area
And it
and
fills it
put
right
in the
in.
color you chose. And if
Wow.
it doesn't look right or whatnot, like the first time I had the book done, and I think like the book you have and Chris has, it was a bit darker than I had intended. I've since learned that it could be as much a problem of the printing process. Uh, it's not real consistent. Sometimes they'll come a little darker or a little lighter. But after getting that first edition, I lightened everything 20%. It made a world of difference. It wasn't a great difference, but it was enough of a difference that I was happier with the end result. And that was relatively easy to do. You just take each page and you put in another layer on top of everything, and you can throw in brightness, or you flatten everything. These are all terms that James probably knows, but Joe, unless you're on the program, you don't realize. But you put
No.
all the pictures together into one thing, and then you can go to a tool that will
Mhm.
you can contrast and brighten, and you just put in 20%, or you can just incrementally add to it, and you go until you're satisfied with the result.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I know you were learning new skills, Richie, and learning new programs and stuff like that. I'm this is, and you skew this however you want, but I'm curious, like, how much of this process for you was I am enjoying learning something new versus this is frustrating for me. I have a vision and I'm just trying to get it page.
I there was a up and a down with that. For the most part, and overall, with all the frustrating moments there were, and I had a lot of technical issues, and sometimes I thought it was me, and other times it was, um, no offense, Amazon, but one minute you accepted what I did, and other times it was saying it couldn't download, it wouldn't download, it wouldn't download. I never changed anything, and it finally downloads. So they could have had problems with their site at the time, but they didn't explain it very clearly. That can be exasperating. Overall, the learning process I enjoyed. It was, the whole process to me was really overall a lot of fun. A lot of, outside of Amazon being the tool to get a book published, everything falls on the author slash illustrator. Promoting the book falls on me, and because I don't know whether we discussed that yet or not. We talked a little bit beforehand, but it's a process, and overall, I've really enjoyed.
Are you going to promote the book at this year's Harborfest?
Yeah, I am. I am.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they'll allow me to have a booth there, so near the
Cool.
children's stage, and we'll see what happens with that.
It's very exciting, Rich. It'll be your first public debut, right? Of like promoting the book.
Do an author signing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Charge
author
$50
signing.
a signature. How you doing?
No. That ain't happening. But I actually had a book signing. Irene's was 7 people at work had bought the book. More had, but 7 people were there. Another 5 or 6 were there at the hospital at their lunch hour, and they came down and brought their books, and I signed and did a little sketch on there. And
That's cool.
Yeah.
Rich, what about when you get back to port for an extended period of time? Maybe going to the Port Library on Main Street,
Right.
start set up a book signing there. Yeah. See, if this blossoms, you could, in a year's time, you could be wearing one of those jackets with the patches on the pipe and sitting in your study with a glass of brandy and an Irish setter at your feet.
But Joe's not giving this any thought at all.
No, not at all.
Well, I was more of a T-shirt with Mack on them.
Well, thank you so much, Richie. We love being able to promote this book for you and talk about it with you.
Thank you.
I know Joe kind of always said, future books, hopefully, and when coming up. I'm looking forward to the Mack stuffed animal that we can have as well.
Yes.
And the action figure, because you got to have the action figure.
A Funko Pop Mack.
Yeah, Funko Pop Mack. Yeah, the whole thing. We want, and eventually, when you get really like these books become big, you can have a Mack World, like Disney World, except with like all your animals.
James also hasn't given this any thought.
No. Thank you very much. From your lips to God's ears.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, Richie. Of course, I have to thank my other 2 hosts for being here. So thank you, Joe.
You're welcome. You're welcome, James. And thanks again, Rich, for being here. And
thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm so glad I was able to be here, and thank you for including us in this journey you've got going, Richie. This is so exciting.
Thank you all very much. It's been very exciting, and I'm so happy and feel privileged to be able to share it.
Yeah, and so Rich, before we wrap up, let's do one final plug. Where can people get the book?
Yeah.
Find it?
Right now, it's exclusively available through Amazon. It's available in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. The hardcover comes with 18 extra pages. To get a hardcover printed through Amazon, I had to have 76 pages. And so 18 pages of children's activities in the back of the book, word search, connect the dots, coloring book pages, line to a drawing, are all in the back of the book. So the deluxe book is a little, and you know what? As far as the sales go, I'm going to say that a little more than a third of the sales have been on the hardcover.
Wow.
Just recently, the paperback has been taking off. Oh, so you go to Amazon, start typing in the Mighty Little Lumberjack and the Enchanted Forest, which is the title of the book, will popped up, and you just click on that. Take it from there.
Excellent. Thank
Easy
you so
peasy.
much for doing that. And listening audience, if you're listening to this, you are probably a former customer or fan of Mint Condition, and Richie was a big part of that. So please go support his book.
Yeah, Steve Perel.
Yeah, and you
Oh,
can
Steve has with a hardcover.
and you can go then onto Facebook and let Richie know that you bought his book,
Yes,
and you
that I
can
would
leave a
appreciate.
comment
Yeah.
with this podcast when it posts that you're going to get the book, that you've got the book, and then leave Richie reviews on Amazon also, because that
Yes.
always helps. As we say with this podcast, reviews helps with selling books, doing anything in this world, review helps. So please go to Amazon, type in the Mighty Little Lumberjack, and get your copy today. So thank you so much, listening audience. Thank you, Richie, and we will talk to you on the next episode.